Welcome, everybody. This is a joint meeting of the Palm Desert City Council, successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency, Palm Desert Housing Authority, and the Palm Desert Board of Library Trustees. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 2449, this meeting may be conducted as a hybrid meeting, allowing public access via teleconference in person, and up to 2 council members may attend remotely. Would you like to read the virtual instructions, please?
For those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. If you're joining by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. Please keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes and begin by stating your name for the record. Additionally, please note that pursuant to the Palm Desert Municipal Code, anyone who engages in disorderly conduct such as using profane language, yelling, or similar demonstrations which disturbs the peace and good order of the meeting, or who refuses to comply with the lawful orders of the presiding officer, shall be removed from the meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have any items from the closed session?
No reportable action was taken at the closed session this afternoon. Thank you.
Do we need a separate roll call if we've established roll call with the study session?
The record will reflect all council members are present as we took roll call earlier this evening.
Perfect, thank you. Item 6, Pledge of Allegiance, that will be led by Council Member Kelly. As mentioned, today's date is September 12th, and I'm hoping that some of you took some time to reflect yesterday on the fact that it is September 11th. I think there are a lot of events that we experience in our lives that cause the before and after. We have gotten our timelines a little mixed up in our current lives because we see the world in terms of pre-pandemic, during, and after. And for many of us, when we experienced and went through collectively through 9/11 as a nation, knowing how many of our loved ones were impacted, whether they were in the buildings or on the planes, or whether our loved ones were in the military and were activated or already active duty and were sent abroad. We have a generation of kids that have always known that there was a whole conflict going on. We have loved ones that went and came back, maybe physically in one piece, but we acknowledge that they were changed. We acknowledged PTSD. We acknowledge the physiological changes that happen with such a stressful event. We can't take our daily lives for granted. We shouldn't just look at it as videos where we see somebody covered in ash with all of their terror and horror on their face. That was something that happened and not simply another day on the calendar. At that time, personally, my ex-husband was activated and went to Iraq. So personally, I'm aware of the sacrifices that families make, that it's not just the person that's deployed, but it's all of their loved ones that give them that support. At that time, our nation was united. We rallied together in what meant what we saw as our values as a nation. We put partisanship aside and we focused on our collective spirit. We focused on how to get through such a difficult time together. It has been many years, but the lessons remain. And I hope that we each have that time to reflect on the before and after and keep those values in our hearts. Thank you. We've already had a report from closed session. We now advance to item number 9, awards, presentations, and appointments.
No items, Madam Mayor.
Perfect. Item 10, city manager comments.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Do we have any council member reports? Let's start with Council Member Truby.
I just want to give a quick kudos and shout out to our public safety, both fire and sheriffs have attended the Public Safety Committee meeting this week, and Lieutenant Dan Porras gave us a report that there was a traffic enforcement over the course of the summer that resulted in 885 citations being handed out over those 3 months. So that's responsive police work. We've had a lot of complaints about folks just ignoring traffic rules, and they're out there making sure we rein that back in. I'm so proud of the work they do. And then from the fire department or fire crew, we heard reports of several house fires and that happened over the course of the summer. And again, think about these guys and gals working in 100+ degree temperatures. Several of them had to be hospitalized, and it's just a reminder of the good work that they do keeping us safe. So big shout out to our public safety crew. Thank you.
And we're going to ping pong over to here. Council Member Kelly.
Nothing this evening.
Council Member Nastande.
No comments this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I had nothing last meeting, and I guess I'm making up for it this meeting. I have a lot. And when we talk about our sheriffs and our firefighters, not only everything that Councilmember Truby shared with us, but let's not forget that they are called now to the fires that we have throughout Southern California. We have our deputies there, we have our firefighters there, and we don't know what we'd do without them. So it's an opportunity to say thank you. I was in a meeting today. It was a CVAG, Coachella Valley Association of Governments meeting, where we met with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Southern California Air Quality Management District, and the California Air Resources Board, where they told us that there was no extraordinary air circumstances occurring right now. You can imagine that everyone in the room thought differently, and let them know so. So there will be a lot of new devices out there to check air quality. We let them know that it is unacceptable what we're going through right now. And we do recognize that we're all going to have to work together. This is going to be a collective effort to find a way to solve this problem. And it is a big problem. We're all dealing with it. And now compounded by our regular, the PM 2.5 and the PM 10, and now this new particle that they say is suspended particle, and now we have smoke on top of it all. So there will be some concerted efforts to figure that one out. Also at the Southern California Association of Governments, we talked about the V2X, which is vehicle to everything communication. And our vehicle manufacturers will have to create devices so that our vehicles are cognizant of their surroundings, because we build our cities for vehicles. So it's a vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to all its surroundings, to pedestrians, etc. Watch for it, it's coming. Also, don't forget that this month is Hunger Action Month and hunger awareness. And 1 in 6 people in our valley use Find Food Bank and are they say food insecure, but the fact is they're hungry. So there are a number of Palm Desert businesses who are doing fundraisers within their businesses in this month. So I wonder if we might be able to put a link to Find Food Bank so we can identify those businesses in Palm Desert. If that's acceptable, I'll give you the information so we can go support those businesses that are supporting Find Food Bank. And the gelateria on El Paseo is one of them, and I suggest going over there and having some pumpkin cheesecake gelato, because all the proceeds go to Find, and it's really good. And that's what I have. So thank you.
Thank you. Following along with the same concepts of air quality, this morning I attended the Salton Sea Authority meeting at the Water District. And we see a lot of the same components. I gave public comment in terms of the impact of our air quality on our tourism and economic development. People have usually focused on the Salton Sea as an over there problem, but now we understand as we are suffering from challenges with our air quality. I was also there to ensure that the members and anybody that was present was aware of the Salton Sea Symposium that will be taking place at UC Riverside. This is an excellent place to learn information. As a data nerd, it was nerd candy for me the last time to have PhD research presented directly from the students and researchers. And one example was someone presented on the meteorology of dust storms. And it makes sense if right now we can say there are high winds, but if that can be localized to say this school is in a particular danger, please keep your kids inside. The air quality will be bad, but in particular, your school is at greater risk. Issues related to the Salton Sea that go beyond that. And I'm part of the planning discussion for that, and I requested that we reach out. So anybody here that's a healthcare professional or you know someone, in particular, any pulmonologist and immunologist to be present. There are microbacteria that are causing H. pylori, and won't get into all of that lecture for you, but if you've heard of H. pylori or it's impacted, you know that the Salton Sea is a factor. So we are all impacted, even if it feels that it's far away. The symposium will be October 18th and 19th. I wanted to share that the Coachella Valley now has a Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. And this is an opportunity for the Valley to interact not only with Latino-owned businesses, but to be aware that the Latino economic spending power in the United States is 3.2 trillion. That would create essentially the GDP of the 5th largest economy in the world behind the US, Japan, China, and Germany. So that is a resource that we need to ensure that our local businesses are able to connect. So anybody that wants to go to the Mixer, La Quinta Brewery on the 27th at 6 p.m. And I was also going to share the same issues with the same level of awareness, not an issue. And as somebody who has experienced food insecurity, it's a great cause not only to donate, but a place to go. If you are experiencing that, they don't have any income threshold, they don't ask for ID, they don't ask for anything. You show up, you say, I need food, you get food. They also have pet food available. And one of the top reasons that people surrender their animals to animal services is they can't afford food. So just an additional consideration of how they are great partners. So any other things that we may have left off in comments? Nothing left? Okay. We now move on to item number 12, non-agenda public comments. This time has been set aside for the public to address the City Council on issues that are not on the agenda for up to 3 minutes. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Because the Brown Act does not allow the City Council to act on items not listed on the agenda, members may briefly respond or refer the matter to staff for a report and recommendation for a future meeting. Before I forget, do we have any online comments?
Not at this time, Madam Mayor.
Okay. First public comment, Mr. Mike Morsch, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members, staff. I'd like to talk a little bit about Measure G, if I may, which is the sales tax, theoretically at 1%. Actually, it's my understanding is it's for police and fire, the new fire department, and to add more police hours to the current staffing. That's a good thing. But I would like also to ask the staff who's working on this to please look at the city expenditures that are going into some of the other areas. Maybe there could be some cuts there. And we're just not getting the dollar amount for what it costs each of the expenditures And are they ongoing? Are they something that could be reduced? I think we should look at that in order to sell Measure G. The other thing I wanted to talk about is with the mayor's involvement with the Patriot Store. Mayor, I understand that there was some comments made. I was sitting in here. One of them was that you don't give the respect to the person who's speaking by giving them your full attention, by looking at them, whereas the other staff members do. I recommend, in order to resolve that, you could do as I do. The very next morning when I'm having my coffee, I'll sit there and I'll go over the entire meeting, and that way I am able to take notes at my leisure. And that would help resolve that issue. I also feel that your comments in regard to the Patriot Store were politicized. This is a Republican-based store. They have a lot of Republican goods. They have a lot of patriot goods. They do a lot of good. And this is the impression that I got, was that because you politicized it, you're getting a lot of feedback now. And Veronica, if you can get with me at some point in regard to those numbers I asked for, I would certainly appreciate it, or Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, John Yaumbao. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm new to Palm Desert about 2.5 years. And actually, if it wasn't for you, Mayor, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, this hullabaloo about a post you made and just some of the feedback, I found it quite interesting. But I guess it's indicative of the times that we live in. So one thing I did want to say, if the recall push still has legs, I'm one of the volunteers to help you, try to fight that process back. And like any good person, I wanted to do some research on, what the heck this was about. So I did stop by the Patriot Store before I came here, and the gentleman, you're right, it's a Republican store. I saw some interesting signs, and really, some of them were, I know obviously everyone knows about Make America Great Again, but then I saw some Take America Back, but here's the best one. Trump 2024, Keep America Great. I think that implies that, America is pretty great as it is. And also, really kidding aside, I thought that we're not a perfect nation, but I thought we were doing, pretty damn good leading into the 2016 elections. Obviously, no nation is perfect, but I think we used to be envy of a democracy. And so it's an interesting place, but I was respectful, and there were other people in there, and, no issue. And then right before I left, I was reminded of the times. There was a gentleman who came in, and he was a very energetic, looking for signs, and nothing, no problem. And then he said he lived in Sun City, and he said, I got to tell my neighbors. And then he made a comment that he's got some neighbors are not Trump supporters, and he used a word to describe, and it was a horrible word, and it must have touched me. So I just, I had to get out of there. So I just kind of told him that, I'm not a Trump supporter, and just kind of left there. I didn't want to start anything, but I'm running out of time. So if there's someone here from East Valley Republican Women's Club, if you want to have a, nice conversation about it, maybe one of the things you should do is, if you don't want any
Thank you.
non-Trump supporters.
Thank you very much.
then,
Your time
you
is
know,
up.
let us know. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Karen Vondere.
I am here today to address why is Karina still here serving as mayor? And why is she still on the Palm Desert payroll? Why has she not resigned or has not been removed from the position? Karina seriously abused her position August 10th by posting on her mayor Facebook page extremely offensive and dangerous comments regarding the Patriot Store, as well as shaming the author of the Patriot Store article published in the El Paseo catalog. Karina, I see that after hearing overwhelming complaints about your disgraceful and dangerous post, you've removed it. Did you post an apology? No. Have you resigned from office? No. Have you been removed yet from the position of mayor? No. This is entirely unacceptable. You have shown us who you are, and yes, I believe what I see. Just because you removed your offensive and dangerous post is not enough. It does not make your actions go away or change who you really are. In my opinion, after researching, reviewing, and listening to you, it is quite evident that you are a self-serving, litigious, and opportunistic individual. All the while hiding behind a caring facade. Your apparent obsession with video recording yourself and posting these videos is truly repulsive. I speak on behalf of myself, as well as many other Palm Desert residents, for you to take your act elsewhere and resign now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Dean Gatons.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, as well as thank you, staff. My name is Dean Gatons. I've been in Palm Desert for 17 years. Graciously, we raised our family here. My wife and I had 2 kids go through Palm Desert High, and we would never look back. This has been a remarkable town, and we're really grateful for all you do and staff as well. I'm very grateful as well. I'm honored to have served on the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee for 12 years as a committee member as well as the chairman, and I look forward to continue to do so in this remarkable town. As we drive through town, we can drive down Fred Waring, we can drive down Gerald Ford, Dinah Shore, Frank Sinatra, but one that I always take a lot of pride in is Councilmember Kelly. I drove down Dick Kelly today, and I'm just really grateful for what your father did and for what you do for Palm Desert. It's wonderful to see the foundation that was set by your father, and as you're continuing this today, and I appreciate that. And again, it's fun to drive down all those other streets that we well know of, but folks that were here for years, we're really grateful. The reason why I am approaching all of you today is the need to please prioritize the access from the 10 freeway to Portola. I recognize, I understand, I empathize. It's quite a lot of money. But I want to give you 4 examples today of why I feel it really needs to be prioritized, because this is, if we don't do something now, we're going to say, oops, why didn't we do something? First would be, I live off Hoveley West, and I like to say that I'm the self-appointed ambassador, and I like to walk every morning for 2 miles. When it was mentioned that 885 citations were given, I would be curious to see if any of those 885 were given on Hoveley West, especially in the mornings, as it is an Autobahn. There is no enforced speed limit, and the middle median, which is supposed to be for turn lanes, is a passing lane, and people pass each other. It's very dangerous. I bring this up as an example for the need for the Portola exit, given the fact that it's utilized as a passageway between Monterey and Portola. Secondly is the fact that Costco, during season, as you're well aware of, Costco attracts a lot of people and all throughout the year, but the line from Costco gas out to Monterey is very dangerous. And that is going to become even more dangerous once, which I'll get to in a second, some development goes in. I've worked with Costco. I've asked Costco, are they going to extend their pumps? They said they are. They haven't done that in years, as well as they said they were going to move the gas to the other side of that tile warehouse and you'd enter in that other street. They have yet to do that. So I would
Thank you
encourage.
very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Green, please.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I wanted to address the hate mail situation that was directed at the mayor. I was dismayed and disappointed that no public statements from any city leaders were not made immediately calling out that there is no place for hate mail and threats to anyone. Silence can be seen as complicity, and if you don't condemn it, it becomes acceptable and thrives. I hope if this situation happens to anyone and any of you, that all of you would defend each other regardless of where you may stand on certain issues. The other thing, I opened the Patriot Store's website to see kind of what some of the controversy was. I was appalled to find that there are some very non-patriotic things. I don't find Let's Go Brandon and Trader Joe referring to our president as positive patriotic things. And I think they should have been called out for being not so patriotic. And many people have told me that they don't appreciate or support some of the things that are sold in that store. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Brad Anderson.
Hello, yes, thank you. My name's Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Ransom Ross, but I love your city and I come here quite often, especially the last 8 months. So I wanted to speak on a few items. I'm going to backtrack. I've been kind of critical of your study sessions not allowing public comment. And I noticed today after your presentations or your agenda items that you did allow comments, but people would have to write out a speaker card or be online. And that was never mentioned on the agenda. I never knew anything about it. I don't know when that became policy, but it's a good step forward, but people need to know about it. If it's not on the agenda, it's not happening usually. That's how I look at it. But because I would have loved to comment on at least one of those items on the study session. And just why I'm talking about your agenda, I noticed on the affidavit of posting, I would recommend that you have somebody actually, they do print the name, but sign it and actually date it, and time would be essential too. Because there are special meetings that, you know, you have to give you a 72-hour notice. So it's important that you do that. I'm not saying you don't, but it's a good first step of correcting this possible legal issue down the road. And see, I want to speak on the CBAG meeting today too. I was in attendance for a little while there too, and I just want to mention there was a presentation given by the Air Quality Resource. I can't pronounce it so long, but anyway, it was presented. The room was anti-vax because according to the report, there really isn't an issue with that. But looking back on CBAG, at least 2 years, this has been a narrative of theirs for a while. I believe the sky is falling, what the director said, meaning air quality, but it's a funding technique from CBAG and the cities are involved too. So I would just suggest that the residents don't take too much emphasis on this and really research it before believing what your political leader says. And going back on the study session, no, and maybe most people don't know about that. And there some issues with a store. I don't do the media thing, so I really don't know that much about it. But apparently hate mail was received or some kind of threats to the city council, which is unacceptable, but by doing, apparently you're doing some kind of gun restriction zones, speaking of City Hall at first, but that's totally unacceptable on the methods that you're doing it, and I would suggest that you don't go forward on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Right on the dot. Vicky Schroeder, sorry, I can't. Vicky?
Hi, thank you for allowing my 3 minutes. I'm a talker, so I'll try to keep it short. My schedule doesn't allow me to attend many of your meetings, but this is a time in our existence in this country that participation and being part of the democracy and the democratic process is so critical. I promise I'm going to be here more. I'm here to support our mayor because it was the blow up of whatever actually took place that I'm responding to. Social media, rumors, blah, 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 came about to find, and I understood the issue was that our mayor mistakenly posted a private citizen's right and democratic ability to post anything in her email. She accidentally posted it, mistakenly posted it to the mayor's headline email. It's also my understanding of the facts that she immediately apologized, recognized her mistake, took responsibility for it, and took down that post. That should have been the end of it, in my opinion. And my opinion is important as each of us is important. So it had nothing to do with the specific store. That's a whole other issue I probably would want to weigh in on some point too, but I don't today. I just want to make my voice heard that apparently the support on the council side, the support from the community itself was silent, and the support for reprimanding her and demanding that she leave and making all this fuss about something that should never have grown to that point. In my mind, I don't know that the council can do a thing about it now, but if something really untoward happens and the council, who has authority, does not speak up in behalf of democracy and in behalf of doing the right thing in this case, the mayor took down an objectionable opinion that is not appropriate for a mayor, but certainly appropriate for one of my fellow Palm Desert residents and citizens here whom I love dearly. And I hope that this would never happen again, and that if there's any other actions that anybody can take or any other incidents come up, maybe that is the action I want you to take. Speak up. We are in a desperate situation now to save our democracy. And that's a perfect example of democracy. So hopefully I had the facts right. If I have mistaken facts, correct me. If I don't, please listen to expanding yourself.
Your
Thank you.
time is up. Storm Jenkins.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Storm Jenkins. I'm the owner of the second business that was maligned and defamed by the mayor when she suggested I'm the one place people should not do business with when it comes to getting CCW permits, because I asked simply if she had ever set foot inside the Patriot store. Her conduct, I don't believe, was accidental. It was damaging. It was irresponsible. And of course, I'm not getting eye contact either. That seems to be a signature situation. I would at some point appreciate an apology. You did not apologize for your comments. You apologized for inadvertently using your official mayor's website to attack us, but you never apologized for the attack. And the only good thing about your comments afterward is it clarifies that you were not acting in an official capacity, so you're not covered by any immunity for any defamatory actions that those of us who are contemplating taking against you. You damaged our businesses. You created a situation of conflict and angst. And now purportedly, someone not affiliated with you has sent in some threats. You brought this mood about, and it was irresponsible. I recognize that due to the Brown Act, you can't communicate with me directly, and you can't communicate with the people here directly. Yet this issue needs to be discussed. It needs to be an agenda item. And then further to that, I am proposing a resolution, which I'll read quickly now. And I'm asking, well, I'll read it first and then I'll tell you what I would like you to do. Whereas the primary duties of elected office holders is the security and prosperity of their constituents and locally owned businesses. Whereas Mayor Karina Quintanilla has used her official position to defame and recommend boycott of 2 separate Palm Desert businesses, which she has never even visited. Whereas nonpartisan office holders should never use their official positions to ignorantly defame persons or businesses maliciously to the point of suggesting boycotts of businesses who celebrate patriotism, public safety, and honorable dealings with the public. Whereas Mayor Quintanilla's malicious, unprovoked attack on 2 local businesses and their supporters so dishonored her position and the city of Palm Desert. Whereas dozens of constituents have appeared before the Palm Desert City Council and demanded Mayor Quintanilla's resignation. Whereas it is the duty of elected members of the Palm Desert City Council without fear or favor to hold their own members accountable to the people who elected them. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Council officially and formally censure Mayor Quintanilla. I would ask that this be put as an agenda item, and if it has to be that I come back next time and ask again, this needs to be discussed with the public and giving the mayor an opportunity to publicly respond.
Thank you. Your time is up. I will add that I have been a customer. I have been a purchaser at your store, so we can have that conversation separate.
I would like that.
Last
I have
comment
copies
also
of the
from-
resolution. Will the rules allow me to
Your
hand them?
time is up. If you
Good.
can hand anything you would like to our city clerk, thank
Thank
you.
you. One comment that's outside of politics.
3
Ms.
minutes,
Stein,
your 3 minutes are up,
Good.
please. Your
Ms.
3 minutes
Stein,
are up.
hard to read. Sign-
Thank you. Next comment is from Linda Salas.
Okay, I'm here in support of Mayor Quintanilla. I have attended a few of the mayor's coffee meetings where she's met with residents of Palm Desert. And in a few of those meetings, this had been addressed, this issue of the Patriot store being an offensive store to the residents, and also to, in one instance, one resident mentioned that he was walking down there with some friends and they didn't feel comfortable being on that street. And then a couple veterans complained. So, I mean, having heard those things as a mayor seems to me responsible action on her part to address that. Now, the way she addressed it might be the problem here, but the fact that it needed to be addressed, I think, should be stressed. And I think she was doing her job by listening to the residents, by taking into consideration their comments. And she's done that with so many other issues that, and it is her right. I mean, we all have a freedom of speech right. So it's her right to say, well, it was her right to say what she feels. And it's Patriot Store's right to complain, but to threaten her life and to call for her resignation, I think is very typical of that side of the political spectrum and is very scary.
Our next speaker, do we have any speakers online?
No raised hands, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Having concluded public comments, we now move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one motion. The public may comment on any items on the consent agenda within a 3-minute time limit. Individual items may be removed by the city council for separate discussion. Mr. Clerk, you said you were going to pull a particular item?
Madam Mayor, I just want to note for the record that item 13A, the minutes, there is a revised set of minutes for your approval. And on item 13J, we're requesting the removal of that item for further discussion.
Item 13J. So would you like this to then move that to the action calendar or future discussion at a different day?
Just right after the consent calendar. Madam
Okay.
Mayor. Yes.
Well, you distributed the substitute minutes.
Correct.
So does it have to be removed?
No, I'm just acknowledging that those minutes were provided.
Right. So that's still part of consent.
Okay, so let's see, we've moved that. Do we have, actually, do we have anybody willing to pull any items or needs to pull any item?
I'd like to pull 13P.
I'll move the remainder.
I have one comment card for a 13K, so we will be pulling that as well.
A.
K as in Karina. Any of the other comments online? Okay, just making sure. So we will be removing 13E, 13K, 13J, and approving a revised 13A.
We have a motion. I'll second the motion.
You have a motion and a second. I just want to make one quick comment on 13I, and that is the benches that I asked to be continued so that we could have pictures or graphics, and I just want to thank you for doing that. So we have it, and that's it.
Perfect. Vote, please.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's see. Going in alphabetical order, would you like to have your item discussed first? It's, no, I'm sorry, City Clerk, 13I. We have I, J, and P. Oh, excuse me, I, K, and P.
J, K, and P.
Yes, so that was a comment, so.
And so for item 13J, award of the contract to Superb Engineering for Desert Willow Perimeter Landscape and Lighting Rehabilitation Phase 3 project. On September 10th, 2024, this city staff notified council of a bid protest. After conducting research, staff and legal counsel determined the protest to be without merit. City staff recommends the council reject the bid protest and award the contract as it was presented in your packet. And if there's any questions, Mr. Chavez Isabella.
Yes, please.
I do have a few questions.
Good afternoon, Randy Chavez, Deputy Director of Public Works.
Sir, thank you. I just two sort of red flags that stuck out on this particular proposal was it was a substantial, the total dollar amount of their Superb Engineering's proposal was $1 million, 30,000. The next closest was 1.3, then 1.378, and then 1.6 million. Just was stuck out a little bit that it was so much lower. And the company has only had a contractor license for a year. What gives you confidence, or what, to me, those are sort of red flags that need to be addressed. What gives you confidence that Superb, and this is our first time doing business with Superb Engineering, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Well, staff did research their references. They had several references, other government agencies, municipalities. We reached out to them. They gave them favorable responses. Some of the projects were almost in line budget-wise with this project. So there was no reason that staff found to reject their bid and go on to the second bidder.
Perfect. And then second, what are the proposed start and finish dates of this project?
Typically, once it's awarded, I don't have the exact dates right now, but typically it's about 30 days after award of contract. We have to do the agreement, paperwork, bonds, et cetera. But that's typically the start time. So we're looking at maybe end of October.
And then how long is the project projected to take?
This one here, since it is a larger project, I believe it's 4 months.
Okay. Got it. Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
And Mayor, if I may, for the record,
Yes.
we did receive an email at 3:25 PM today from the gentleman who had initially filed the protest stating that he had reviewed the documentation of Superb's registration and he is not discussing the protest any further. So he's withdrawn it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So do you need a motion?
I was gonna say, any other questions beyond that? Any other thoughts?
I wonder if we could take them all at once.
Okay.
Take all at once. We still haven't discussed A and P. Discuss which ones all at once. There's no problem with just continuing
P?
these. I think that I choose to prefer in this order. Thank you very much.
So you want a motion on J?
Yes, Jay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Given the nature of this
Motion
one
passes
being,
5-0.
thank you. Given the nature of this one having being legally contested, I felt it was important to ensure that this was not part of an overall measure, but a specific separate vote. At that point, I will entertain a motion to carry the balance with the exceptions of K and P.
Madam Mayor, we've already passed the consent calendar,
Perfect.
the balance. Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And now let's look at item 13K. I do see that we have a public comment. Is there any other public comment on the matter?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so item 13K. Amendment to number 4, contract C28880 with Best and Krieger LLP for city attorney services, extending the term to August 31st, 2025. Do we have a staff report on that first, please? So we can.
Madam Mayor, simply, on August 22nd, the city council conducted a performance evaluation for the city attorney and directed staff to prepare a contract amendment extending the term for an additional year. And as such, Amendment 4 would extend the term through August 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from my peers? Okay, thank you. Please, Mr. Anderson.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The only reason I pulled this is I just thought the residents of the city, and I just briefly through that multi-plays page amendment contract, more or less. And I came to the conclusion that it was around $18,500 a month for the services, for the basic services. There may be other type of cost associated with it, but I think that was an important thing for the residents of your city to know going forward. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 13P, resolution of support for the Proposition 36, modifying existing laws related to punishment of theft and drug crimes.
I simply wanted to pull that because Proposition 36 is an important proposition. It deals with a lot of the crime we have seen in our communities. It discourages the crime, and it gives those committing the crime an opportunity to seek treatment and to hopefully make a different choice in life. And I think it's important for everyone to be aware of Proposition 36. Our resolution is to support it as a city, and I hope everyone considers supporting it also. And I move approval.
Second.
Motion passes 5-0.
Having concluded the consent calendar, we move on to item 14, the action calendar. The public may make a comment on individual action items within the 3-minute time limit. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. The first item, 14A, direction on a resolution being considered at the League of California Cities General Assembly meeting.
Madam Mayor and City Council, for your consideration and direction is whether the city's voting delegate for the League of California Cities should support or oppose a resolution being proposed at the General Assembly meeting on October 18th. The resolution calls for the California Legislature to ensure equal treatment of all government officials, both local and state, under the principle of what applies to one applies to all. There are some existing areas where state legislators face stricter regulations than local officials, such as the conflict of interest rules, lobbying restrictions, and campaign contribution reporting. Additionally, state legislators are subject to term limits under the Legislative Reform Act of 1990, which restricts them to 12 years in office. Local officials, on the other hand, may not face such limits unless imposed by local law. Of course, I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
Comments, yes.
I have comments. I think this is loaded with unintended consequences. And it is not, I'm sure there's some good reasoning behind it and things that will benefit the local electorate. And I'm also sure there are things that will not be beneficial. I don't support this. At first, when I read it, I thought, let's just continue it until the next meeting so I have a chance to really study it. But after just a little studying of it, I don't support it.
Yes, please.
I was going to say this has, as Mayor Pro Tem just said, it has many unintended consequences, and I do not support it either.
Councilmember Kelly?
And I'll be the third, just for the benefit of the public listening. This proposal from the League of California Cities flows from the fact that we as local officials are very resentful when Sacramento makes demands on us that they don't make on themselves. For example, we have to be extremely cautious that three of us never discuss a city issue outside this kind of public setting. It takes real effort if three of us are grabbing a cookie at the same time back there. But we work at it. Meanwhile, Sacramento is making backroom deals constantly. They live on backroom deals. So that's where this proposal flows from. But there's a line in Out of Africa spoken by Meryl Streep. If you can't trust Meryl Streep, who can you trust? And the line is, when the gods really want to punish you, they give you what you asked for. And if the League of California Cities presses this, and Sacramento really wants to punish us, they'll give us what we ask for, with the result that we'll be subject to new restrictions. So it's an easy no.
Any comments, Councilmember Truby? I think everything has been said. I concur. There are a lot of gaps and opportunities for misinterpretation, for application that is not accurate or aligned with the intent. I think that it's a good idea to oppose.
Move to oppose.
Did it not lock?
I just want to be sure if I'm voting yes, it means I'm voting against.
Motion passes 5-0 to
Thank you.
oppose the proposed resolution.
Item 14B, appointment to an ad hoc city council subcommittee on the Unified Development Code.
Madam Mayor, as was discussed in the study session, at this time, we look to council whether you would like to make those appointments now or postpone it until after the election.
Would it be prudent to wait till after the election?
I second that motion.
Yes.
I think it would be
agree.
prudent in terms of ensuring that the proximity to someone's home or sphere of influence may change. So I think it is most prudent to wait until after.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 14C, consideration of a sponsorship request for the Tour de Palm Springs and Coachella Valley.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a sponsorship request to support an overflow start at the Civic Center Park for the 27th Annual Tour de Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley Cycling Event on February 9th, 2025. At the last City Council meeting, the council members discussed this item at length and requested that staff return with information on how Palm Desert would be featured to warrant the investment of the sponsorship. Included in the staff report are benefits that would be provided to the city as an overflow start sponsor at the $30,000 level. In addition to the city's logo being featured on riders' t-shirts and jerseys, in all marketing, including event flyers, television advertisements, and social media posts, Palm Desert would be featured prominently on the homepage as the overflow start location on the event's website. And the city would also be featured on the lodging and parking section of the website with the Discover Palm Desert Hotels webpage. So there would be an actual link to Discover Palm Desert's webpage that would go to all the hotels in Palm Desert. The $30,000 sponsorship would be used to design a traffic control plan for the event, implementation of the plan, and public safety services the day of the event. Estimates for these costs are unavailable at this time without the design of the traffic control plan. However, it is likely that those costs to implement the plan and for the public safety services would come close to or exceed the $30,000 cost. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions, and we also have Cody here from CV Spin to answer questions as well.
Any questions or comments from my peers? My question is, just to clarify that you said that as of right now, there is no determined cost, or it's still in the air of how much it would cost for security, and it may exceed the amount?
Yes, because in order to, if the sponsorship is approved, that's when they will design the traffic control plan, because they'll know more what route they're going to be taking. And then at that time, they'll know what measures they'll need for the road closures, barricades, to implement the plan. They'll also know how much public safety services they will need. To give you an example, for this year in Palm Springs, they paid $115,000 for public safety services and for road closures, traffic control. So obviously that was a much larger area, but that's $115,000. So I think $30,000 to design the traffic control plan plus public safety and to implement the plan is a good gauge to estimate for this year.
So if there is the opportunity to say, here's what we are willing to consider, would that then drive the ability to create a course based on what we are willing to sponsor? If we're saying these are the parameters that we're comfortable with, and this is what we're willing to, would that create a substantial limitation to the event?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So if we're looking at, here's the sponsorship request and the potential routes that are being explored, if they might exceed the amount that is within the ask, would it be feasible to say, well, work within what we're allotting in order to ensure that we are comfortable with sponsoring that amount, instead of coming forward, asking for this amount, and then maybe later saying we want more?
I can call Cody up, but I would venture to say that the $30,000, if they exceed that amount, I don't think that they're going to come back this year and request additional funding from the city to help with that cost. They would probably get that funding from another source. That money that however much they expended for those services would be included in their after action plan. And then when they come to the city next year, for the funding, when they apply for outside agency funding, that would be built into whatever they're going to be requesting for the following year.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying in terms of where things were exceeded to ensure that. Yes, please.
And just to make sure, the entity that bears the burden of all the traffic safety costs is the Tour de Palm Springs.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Please.
I appreciate the Tour de Palm Springs. Let me start right there. And we are in a position right now where we are looking closely at our budget. And we know that we have had some challenges with our budget. I can't support $30,000. I just can't. And there's two issues here. One, I have just mentioned, it's our budget. And we've made some cuts in a lot of places. And then for us to say, well, we're going to give funds to something that didn't make it in time for the budget process. And we have been working in a very diligent manner to make sure that everyone gets in their requests in time to be part of the budget process. And this is not. Additionally, as again, we know we are out looking for a way to increase revenue in our city. I simply can't support the recommendation. What I could support, and I'm gonna put this out there, float it out there and see what we get. Certainly to, what did we exactly have here? Let me make sure I have it right. Waive the permit fee for $800, and I would say perhaps appropriate $10,000 for this. I don't see us being able to save $30,000 in a time where we're looking at our budget like we're looking at it and looking to create a process where requests for budgets, allocations are needed to be in on time. So those are my thoughts.
I concur with our Mayor Pro Tem that we have tried to ensure to have that hard cut. Because if we accepted every other one with our tender hearts and wanting to do good for the community, we would continue to have that as an unlimited fund. I think it's a great suggestion to have a smaller amount while allowing the waiving of the fees. So I think that would be reasonable. So is this for this particular item, Mr. Clerk, or is this, okay?
I have a comment.
Yes.
And perhaps I'm going to get the answer to that with that blue card, but there's data, I would hope, that would show we are going to recoup the 30,000 and then some, because it's also true, the more revenue we receive, hopefully helps our budget. So I'd like to get that information then before we make a decision.
That is a great question. Do you happen to have any of that before we bring our speaker forward?
Yeah. Yes, we can maybe call.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Cody Shelton.
Must have been reading my mind there. So yes, I do have a little bit of the economic impact report. So we broke it down for the city of Palm Springs and also for the city of Palm Desert from the 2024 event. We had 5,173 surveys that were sent out, 911 surveys were returned, so about 18%. And 83% of those responders were visiting the Coachella Valley, 70% visiting the Coachella Valley stayed overnight, 1 or more nights. And then we broke down the whole data. I believe I submitted it to Amy as well, so you guys hopefully do have that. But 18% of those surveys stayed in the city of Palm Desert. And we did our transient occupancy tax, and it was estimated that the city of Palm Desert, the TOT and the sales tax generated by the 2024 event was $45,677.
Yes.
Go ahead. A question. Have you determined that there will be an overflow start in Palm Desert with or without the sponsorship?
Without the sponsorship, we wouldn't have the overflow start. We would just use it as a traditional SAG stop, a stop and go location for our riders.
And why? In other words, if you need the overflow stop, why is that the outcome?
We don't have the additional funds, so we were looking with other cities as well. Like the city of DHS has been one for the past few years that we were looking at adding the second stop, but with Hurricane Hillary, that kind of put a little hitch in our plans for that. And we're looking for a city that we want to partner with that's not going to be affected year to year from weather, road closures, stuff like that. And that's why we decided this year would be a good time to reach back out to the city of Palm Desert. We're growing as well. Since COVID, our numbers went down and we've been growing each year since. Last year, we've had our highest number with over 5,100 riders. This year, we're on track to do between 6,500 and 7,500 riders. So we need an additional start. But if we have to separate the times, if for some reason we can't get the money and the location here for the second start, we'll have to figure out our times with the start in the downtown Palm Springs to where we can manage having that amount of riders throughout the entire day, essentially.
And is there a reason that you weren't able to meet the deadline for our budget process?
Yes, so our board was discussing it. Like I said, we were in talks still with the city of DHS, but our board came to the determination that it wasn't feasible for us moving forward. We were already looking to change our routes. So at that time, we didn't have the approval to go ahead and look for a second start. Once we finally did with our board, it was after the deadline.
I would just add that the city of La Quinta and Indian Wells have the Ironman Triathlon, and Palm Springs has the Tour de Palm Springs, and hopefully now we could have the Tour de Palm Desert, albeit it's not the title name. I'm strongly supporting this decision.
I think I saw Councilmember Trubie first.
Yeah, I think this would be money well spent. I think we will recoup a good portion of it through TOT revenue by having the start here, a secondary start here. And rather than just having routes pass through our city, have them actually come in and feature the Civic Center Park. We can highlight our city, introduce thousands of people potentially to our city from all over the world, all over the country. I think it's money well spent, the advertising, the logos, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm willing to take a gamble on it, and I think it'd be good ROI.
May I go ahead? I don't gamble with taxpayer money.
I don't think it's a gamble. We've been here for 27 years now. We're a
I know.
staple in the Coachella Valley. We see we're
I
growing.
think she still had a question or
The
point.
numbers you gave us are rear view numbers, and I appreciate that they're good, and I appreciate that it's tough to run a board. I get that. It's tough to run a city too, and we have a deadline. And we are going through a budget issue right now. I've been involved with Tour de Palm Springs through my Rotary, through my church. I get it. But right now, we're talking about a different issue. And we can say what we might earn as we go forward. We don't know that. Those are if comes. And I can't support it. I'm saying waive the fee, $10,000. And please, next year, hopefully things are going well so that we're in a better financial position and we could put the $30,000 forward. That would be great. And I know everybody here would support it if we are in that financial position. So those are my thoughts, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
Maybe we could ask Cody to be seated unless we end up having another question.
My perspective on, so sorry, please continue.
Here are my thoughts. It's troublesome when we didn't have this at the same time as all of the other requests for sponsorship, because we start with a pot and we do assess comparative benefits. So it can advantage one group to stand on its own after the process and work from outside the pot. if I'm not mistaken, $30,000 is the level of support for the golf cart parade. Is that correct, Amy? Do you know that off the top of your head?
The current level of support is 50,000, and that's because it's its 60th anniversary. It would be lower typically, but because it's the 60th year, it's 50,000 this year.
Thank you. So in the recent past, 30,000 has been the level of support for that event, which is an exclusively Palm Desert Premier City event. We have great hopes for this collaboration. I would ask my colleagues if we could all embrace a $20,000 sponsorship this year, which recognizes the untimeliness of the response, is more proportionate to some of the awards made on a timely fashion in the budget process, but still expresses our enthusiasm for a future collaboration.
I have a few thoughts, if I may. As again, professed nerd, as I'm looking at it, it was an 18% response rate. To me, that's pretty low. That's very low. If you're looking at a statistical analysis, if you see 10 to 15% of an increase or a decrease, then it's considered statistically significant. An adequate response rate for anything to be measured and provided as data, I think should be a minimum of 25 to 40%. And to me, I think that if for next year, we have more data, I mean, if you've got a water stop while people were cooling off, say, here, have a survey. That would be a way to incentivize, as my peers say, we all see that there's value. We all see that there's value. And with that data, we will be able to say, we are getting more TOT than we thought out of it. We don't, it seems, and I don't want to speak for my peers, it seems that we are all in support, but personally, I have a really hard time with all of the organizations that we denied. Because if we had that and we could go back, then I'm sure we could say, you know what, if we're going to allow $30,000 to be spent outside of that, then let's go and look at these after school programs and let's look at these public health programs that did apply on time. I do not support a 20,000. I think 10,000, honestly, I think that's zero. I think waiving the fees is a great way to support as you come through the city. I think that this will give the board adequate time to present that and say, this year we were able to make a substantial impact in that data, because right now we are trying to save every penny. We are trying to save every penny, and this feels like a potential benefit. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if there's going to be a storm. We don't know any of the variables that could come between now and then. And it doesn't feel like it's a responsible decision to make. So personally, my opinion would be to only waive the fees.
Well, I can count. So we can, there's 3 people that are going to be a no. I support the project, but I'm not going to be able to convince. But I don't know, well, they need 30.
I'll support 15. 15 and waive the 800.
Amy, is that correct? Does 20 work?
Well, it's not up to what we think will work for the applicant. I think it's
Well,
what we're willing to
city.
spend.
Well, I
from
don't
our
want to
budget.
spend 20 if we're not going to be a start for the race.
The cost of a traffic control plan, according to Cody, could be in the area of maybe $10,000 to $12,000. Maybe it would be about $40,000 just for the traffic control plan, or for So, so everything together is going to be about $40,000, but just the design of the traffic control plan could be in the area of $12,000. So the entire public safety implementation and design of the plan, just in the initial year, is going to be just that $10,000 to $12,000 just for the design of the plan. So I think a 10, 15, I think that they wouldn't be able to do it. So I think if you're looking at that, it's probably going to be a potential apply next year, not do it this year and apply next year. That's probably what we're looking at.
Mayor.
Yes.
Realistically, the organization is seeking funds from many sources, including entry fees. Given all the information, it seems appropriate to me to make the judgment that $20,000 is an appropriate City of Palm Desert contribution. You came to us late, go to other donors late, fill in the difference, and let's make it work.
Councilmember Kirby?
I would have to go back and talk to the board of
At this
directors
point,
about
I
it.
think your public comment was 3 minutes. I think we've done sufficient back and forth. I think we pretty much have decided. Thank you.
I just want to make sure, it seems to me like either we spend 30 and have a second start here because the $30,000 mitigates their costs on traffic control, spend 10 or we sponsor it at the level of 10 or 20,000, we get 0 in return. In other words, no start here, probably no logos, no anything. So it's either, to my way of thinking, and if I'm trying to look at it from their point of view, it's either 0 that we give or 30, then we get some return. I mean, going. with the
Maybe
10
somebody make a motion.
One final comment. This is an interesting one.
I don't think that's clear. So to find out what they're willing to do, I will make a motion to award a $20,000 sponsorship with waiver of the $800 permit fee if the tour has an overflow start in Palm Desert. That's the motion.
I'll second it.
How can there be an if clause?
Easy. If they don't have an overflow start, they don't qualify for the grant.
But that needs to be decided now.
I
You know,
think that
No,
was the
no, it
ask. It was to come and request that. That was the reason they asked, so they could start here. I think that's.
So they go back to their board and they say, this is what Palm Desert can do. Should we move forward with the overflow start?
I think that then is a negotiation between their board and our council. Their board cannot make determinations on our funding. This is
No,
a
but it-
decision for us here.
I think, but what Councilmember Kelly has said, the motion is we will grant 20,000 if they come back and say, yes, the board has approved you having a second start here. If they come back and say, no, 20,000 isn't enough, then they don't get the 20,000.
Okay, yeah, I understand that portion of it. Just seems like we're bumping up against deadlines and things for what you need to do with public safety marketing. It's working with
it's-
sheriffs, et cetera. So that's my concern. Thanks.
It is tough. And we do have deadlines, and we had one for the budget. And I want to remind everybody here that there were many other people who came in asking for funds, and we turned them down or we gave them less because we didn't have enough in that pot. And now we're saying outside of the pot, we're going to make a special treatment for someone. And that just is what we're trying to get away from. We're trying to be able to make a solid budget so that we can run a city for the entire city and every resident. It's the right thing to do. And we've all, listen, we live in the Coachella Valley. Who here hasn't been part of a fundraiser? We all have. So if you can come up with the other funds, and if you think Civic Center Park is worthy of a starting spot, which I know we do, and it has great potential, and we'd love to see it grow next year and the year after, let's go for it and let's see what you can do.
Mayor, one
Yes,
more comment.
absolutely.
Yeah, we want the message to be that we have enthusiasm for this collaboration. But it's very, very hard for us under budget duress to respond to 100% of your ask after the deadline. So please take back the message that 20,000 is a stretch and meant to be an expression of our enthusiasm for future collaboration.
I think that as we're still discussing this, if we can use the example of this being Hunger Awareness Month. As a city, we are budgeting every dime that we have because we have to cover those basic costs. That would be going to the grocery store with a set budget. As much as we would love if our child comes and says, Mom, I really, really want that different cereal. I don't want generic, I want the brand name, or I want to take the brand name whatnot snacks when I go to school. We would love to do that, but we didn't budget for it. And I don't think that we should continue to make exceptions, because when is the next one that we think is great? When is the next one where we're told we will get TOT? If we get more TOT in this coming year, then we will have more for it next year. There were very, very wonderful causes that applied on time. I can't, with any good conscience, say sorry to any of these applicants that came in and were denied and say, you're getting pushed to the side because we want to take this venture. I cannot support giving any money. I understand that we can waive the fees. That doesn't cost us the same amount. We owe our residents accountability. I think that this would allow the opportunity again to come back and say, we've now drastically increased the number of surveys. We have 25% response rate. That would make it a lot easier. That would make it very easy to justify, because for all we know, those were just the 18% of folks that either checked their email the way that we hear from Palm Springs Life, or the people that were there catching their breath. We need to know the actual impact that this will have. This is the first time that there will be a stop in Palm Desert. We have all of the warm fuzzies of hoping that this works well, but we're going to have even greater warm fuzzies when we have all of the data to have it move forward next year. Any further comments?
We have a
I think-
motion and a
yes.
second.
Yeah, we're ready to vote.
Perfect.
20,000
Okay.
if they have the start here in Palm Desert.
Okay, got it.
Motion passes 4-1 with Mayor Quintanilla voting no.
Thank you so much. At this point, we don't have any public hearing items. Do we have any information items?
No, Madam Mayor.
We are adjourned at 5:23 PM. Have a wonderful day.